Good enough. All right. Brian here from My MMA News. Sitting down with the King, Gordon, Ryan. A couple questions. We'll just zip right through them. So we'll just get right into it. Gord, how did you get into Jiu-Jitsu?
So it's actually an interesting story. We used to have this daycare teacher when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
Who didn't actually do jiu-jitsu, but he would watch UFC, and he would come in and he would like teach the kids submissions that he saw on the UFC, and we would like drill the submissions, and then in like 10 minutes after that, we'd all like gather around in a circle and we'd have like jiu-jitsu matches, like in the middle of the daycare. And I would always beat up all my friends. And then one day I was shopping with my mom when I was like 15. I saw a jiu-jitsu school. It was owned by Ricardo Almeida, brown belt at the time. And I was like, oh man, like I actually want to start training now. So I started training when I was 15, and then that's pretty much it. And then everything else is history. But I started training like in a daycare center. Some guy who just taught like some random submissions, like, oh, here's a Kimura, here's an armbar, and then I would just like fight my friends. And then like when I was like 15, I actually started doing real jiu-jitsu and started learning from there.
That's all. Did you do any other sports? Baseball, basketball, nothing?
No, I did Pop Warner football for like a little while. I did like recreational wrestling for like a year or something maybe, but most of the time it was just, when I got to high school at least, it was always whatever practice was going to be, like for wrestling practice, it would always interfere with the schedule for jiu-jitsu. So I would always just do jiu-jitsu instead.
Nice. Good choice. Good choice. Tell me about the influence Gary has had on you.
So Gary was a huge part. He still is a huge part, but he's a huge part coming up when I was coming up through the ranks. I met Gary when I was a 4-stripe white belt, and he was a brown belt at the time. He'd already won No-Gi Worlds, so he was like a pretty big name as far as the up-and-coming guys. And when I graduated high school, I worked full-time for like a year just to save a little bit of money, but I still didn't have too much. And Gary was going to the city already consistently. And he would always drive me to the city. He had like a 1994 like Honda Accord that would like leak a quart of oil like every time he drove it, and like would like be ready to explode. The heat didn't work, so we drove up to the city like 3 times a week in his little shitty car. And he would pay for that, all the tolls, all the gas. He would like buy me food after training because I like didn't have enough money to eat in New York.
Right.
And he would pay for everything. If I had to go compete somewhere, he would pay to fly me out most of the time. And that was when he didn't have any money either. Like he was a college student. He was living in an apartment by himself. And there was not really too much money in jiu-jitsu then. Like he would have to like go do like a Grappler's Quest Absolute for like $1,000, like just to pay his rent that month. So like he was helping me out a lot. Obviously I had support from my parents, and I was living at home. I didn't really have any bills. But Gary was one of the big reasons why I started training at the city under John, and then he helped me a lot through my up and coming days. Now that I also make money doing jiu-jitsu, it's not I don't have to rely on him too much anymore. But when I was like 17 years old and was poor, he was one of the main support system for me.
That's awesome. Does he win a MMA championship?
I think he does. I think he wins the 1 FC title relatively easy. And then if he decides to stay with 1 FC, I think he stays there for a long time and is champion. If he decides to move to anything bigger, Bellator or the UFC, I think that he captures the title there as well.
Yeah. Are you gonna make a run or no?
Yeah. I want to win black belt worlds first in the gi.
Okay.
And then as soon as I win black belt worlds, I'm gonna start fighting. That's what I plan. I don't know. When I win the absolute from Abu Dhabi this year, if Felipe Pena wins, and I have to fight him in 2 years, that might keep me in grappling a little longer. Okay. But I'm not sure yet. Okay. I haven't decided if I'm just going to go right to MMA or if I'm going to focus on fighting him.
Like that. Good answer. Who is your favorite grappler that's out currently right now, aside from yourself?
So coming up, it was Keenan. I always studied Keenan Cornelius tape. I love Keenan. He was like a big, lanky guy that was like the same body type as me. That was super flexible. Right now, outside of our team, I'd have to say still Keenan. I find a lot of the stuff he does with little lapel guards really interesting. And I've been playing around with it a little myself, and it is very hard to deal with defensively. So I like Keenan. I like the Mendez brothers with their Toriano type passing. Yeah. They have very good foot placement, and they use use the pants very well to get around the guard. I like Felipe Pena in regards to his ability to take the back. He has a gift for actually getting to people's backs, so he's always one of my favorites to watch. A couple other guys, but those are the main guys. Hodger is always very good to watch. He's a very not a flashy game, but not a basic game. There's so much more subtle, advanced things that he does that no one else really sees that I like to watch as well.
What about Craig?
Craig's interesting. Craig is a very good guard to watch. I like watching him. I get to train with him a lot now, so I know a lot of his game. But before ADCC, I was studying him as much as I could. No one really knew who he was. He already competed at ADCC, and I've seen him on the local circuit since I was coming up, so I knew that he was dangerous.
Yeah.
But no one else really knew him, so there wasn't too much tape on him beforehand.
And EBI was 11. Was the first one?
He did the EBI, and then he had a tough match with Wagner, and they did the absolute with me. So I know that I knew that he was going to be tough. So I watched a lot of tape before Abu Dhabi about him, and then. And, it was always fun to watch his matches because he's actually trying to finish people.
Yeah. Aside from the last Kasai, but that's another story.
Yeah, that wasn't his fault though.
No, not at all. No, not at all. What's your most memorable match you've had, win or lose?
Obviously the Keenan one was a big one for me. That really put my name out there. The first match at Yuri in the EBI, that tournament all in general, that was like when I really broke out into the jiu-jitsu scene.
Agreed.
But I think the match that taught me most in grappling was a match against Leandro Lowe, because I attribute that match to helping me win ADCC, because I went back and I looked at all the tactical errors that I made during that match, and I fixed those for the actual event. I fought him under ADCC rule set, and I did a good job technically. I was happy with my technical ability. My wrestling wasn't too good. I wasn't really happy with my wrestling, but my groundwork technically was up to par. But my tactical work, I just got out tacticked, and he beat me. He beat me like that with the negatives and the points and the out of bounds and stuff like that. So I went back and I really made sure that I knew the rule set, down. I had everything perfect before I actually went to ADCC.
Okay. I like that. Can you describe Tom the Blast in one word, if possible?
Tom the Blast in one word. The first word that comes to mind is savage, but I don't really want to use that. Does teddy bear count as one word?
Sure. Why not? Why are you going with teddy bear?
Because he's like such a nice guy, and now he's like complaining that he's old.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm not gonna compete anymore. I'm too old. I'm like, dude, you're like 35.
Yeah.
Like you haven't even
You're in
like
the prime.
you haven't even reached the prime of your grappling.
Yeah.
Of your grappling career yet. He's like, I'm old. My knees are hurt. My shoulders are hurt. I'm like, dude. He's like, I got 2 kids. I'm like, dude.
No excuses.
You got another 5 years at least.
Yeah, at least. Teddy bear, I like that. Is your brother Nicky, do you think he's going to be the future of grappling? Like that next step, that breakthrough?
Nicky, yeah. If Nicky decides to be as dedicated as he should be,
Yeah.
He's going to be the best ever in my opinion. Especially if he chooses not to fight and just go into grappling.
Okay.
Like for me, my main goal is never to be the greatest grappler of all time. It was to be the greatest MMA fighter of all time. I kind of just got sucked into jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And so now my goal is I just wanted to prove that I was the best no-gi grappler by winning ADCC, prove I'm the best gi grappler, and then become the best MMA fighter. So I won ADCC, now I should win gi worlds, and then I want to start fighting after that. But Nicky has no aspirations right now to fight, I don't think. He just wants to do jiu-jitsu. And if he chooses to stay with jiu-jitsu and he does the things he's doing right now, he's going to be way better than all of us.
Wow.
He started jiu-jitsu at 13. I started at 15. I had to go to all of high school, to 2 or 3 semesters of college, and work full-time for like a year. Nicky just dropped out of school at 14 and just does jiu-jitsu all day in New York. So, he's definitely going to be way better than all of us.
Where is he living? Is he still with Big Gord?
No, he's with my mom. Big Gord's with us in the city, and my mom's still in Jersey.
Nice.
So he comes in with Damien and Ethan and Gary and those guys in the morning.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Do you want to do another Kasai super fight?
Yeah, I have one set up for the next Kasai.
December.
They don't know. That's November, I think.
Is it gonna be November?
Yeah.
Okay.
we haven't signed any contracts yet, so I can't release the opponent. But I do have an opponent. He is from the East Coast. He trains in the East Coast.
Cool.
And it's going to be, he weighs over 200 pounds, and he's fought at Kasai before, so that's the most information I'll give you. But I do have an opponent for the next Kasai.
Couple ideas. Awesome. Can't wait. That's gonna be great. They're doing the same place, right? Hammerstein.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I liked it a lot. That was good there. If you could fight anybody, past or present, still alive, dead, whoever, who would you fight?
I always wanted to train with Hodger. We would never compete with Hodger because he's just so close to our team.
Yeah.
But compete against, I'm not really sure. Bushesha is definitely on my list of top guys that I haven't fought yet that I want to fight. So probably Bushesha, and I just want to train with Hodger. I just want to feel what it's like to feel someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good answers. Good answers. What's your favorite submission?
Favorite overall is probably a rear naked strangle. Just because there's no really fighting out of it. You know, I have a bunch of submissions that I love, but I always favor rear strangles because they're just so powerful.
Yeah, they're dirty. I agree. Do you want to do another EBI, defend titles?
I do, yeah. I'm not going to do the 170 obviously anymore, and I'm not going to do the 85 anymore, so those are going to be open. The 170 was always Gary's weight class, but now he's fighting. The 185 I won, which was my weight class. Gary's actually still the 205 champion, so if I win that, then I'll be the 205 champion, and then the absolutes. But apparently Eddie Bravo's only doing combat jiu-jitsu now. There's no more regular EBIs.
Yeah.
So I talked to him at the last Kasai, and he asked me if I wanted to do combat jiu-jitsu, and I said yeah. So he's like, all right, you're in.
That's
so
awesome.
when they do a 205 or an absolute, then I'll do that.
Oh, that'd be great. Damn, that'd be great. Wow. So you're still planning on doing gi jiu-jitsu? Do you have anything booked?
For gi jiu-jitsu,
ACB went down the drain.
yeah, ACB is. I'm just gonna do local IBJJF stuff, and then there's some tournaments coming up for money that I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm not gonna announce it yet because it's supposed to be a surprise. I'm just gonna show up.
Surprise
And,
pajama party.
and no one's gonna know that I'm doing it.
Okay, that's cool.
But I'm just gonna do some local IBJJF stuff to start to get adjusted to their rules. I also have to go to an IBJJF rules meeting because I don't know what the fuck the rules are.
Yeah.
And then just keep competing without the gi at the highest levels, and then work my way up to the highest levels of gi competition.
Okay. You said working in the gi's been helping with your wrestling?
No, working in the gi has been helping me with getting better at judo and doing stuff like that. But I'm just working wrestling under John, and I just want to be good at wrestling because it'll help transition to MMA. But mostly for jiu-jitsu, the reason why I want to get good at wrestling is because when I just pull guard, everyone just tries to stall. Yeah. And if I can just put people down with wrestling, then they can't stall from bottom position. No. If they want to run away, they have to give me their back.
Right. Okay. Well, speaking to John, tell me how much he's like really improved your game since you've been working with him.
So I pretty much attribute almost all of my jiu-jitsu to John.
To John.
You know, everyone thinks that he's like all this like big hype train that, you know, he's not really as good as people think he is or whatever. No, like he's better than people think he is.
Yeah.
Like he teaches me jiu-jitsu. I watch him teach Olympic level guys judo, like Olympic level judo guys. I watch him teach them judo. I watch him teach Olympic level wrestlers how to wrestle. Like he's that good.
Blowing their mind.
Yeah. You know, he's the reason why I'm as good as I am. You know, before I met him, I was basically just doing aggressive knee slices. At purple belt, like I was just knee slicing past people's guards until I got tired and gave up, and then I took their scrambled to their back. Right. But John actually gave me a direction and a goal to look for while I'm doing jiu-jitsu.
Cool. Wow. That's awesome. How's the health right now with the staff and everything?
So it's getting better. So basically, I had MRSA twice and strep throat within like 4 months. And what they thought initially was that the medicine burnt the lining of my stomach, and I had acid reflux.
Acid, yeah.
But they put the scope down my throat, and my esophagus and the lining of my stomach are okay. So they took blood work, and they said that everything there was okay. So basically, they just narrowed it down to just my body's reaction from so much antibiotics that I was just getting nauseous all the time. I would just wake up and be nauseous, and I would go through the whole day being so nauseous, and then go to sleep nauseous. So I would literally just be nauseous all day. I couldn't eat the right way. I couldn't train the right way.
Right.
I lost 25 pounds.
Yeah, I remember.
I couldn't do anything. So they gave me this prescription anti-nausea medicine, Zofran, that I've been taking. So whenever I get nauseous, if I feel shitty, I take that, and that seems to help.
Okay.
So it's getting better, but it's still not 100%.
They have you on probiotics at all or anything, or no?
I took a lot of probiotics after. My stomach was okay. They just think it's a reaction to the medicine.
Okay.
So they haven't really given any me answers besides taking some anti-nausea medicine.
That's
So
nice.
we'll just go with that. And if I have to take that until I die, then that's all right.
So be it.
'Cause I can at least function
Yeah.
relatively well now.
Cool. All right, that's good. Thank God. Last couple questions. Do you want to rematch with Vinny?
Yeah. A rematch with a rule set that we both know. That was just a weird.
Yeah, it was. The whole
Turn
night
of
was
events.
weird.
Well, we first got there and they told us it was Abu Dhabi rules before we got there, but it wasn't ADCC rules. It was IBJJF scoring with all submissions legal.
Right.
So we both prepared for ADCC rule set, which is completely different
Yeah.
than an IBJJF rule set. And then they explained it to us as if it was scored like an MMA fight. So the rounds are 10-9, someone has to get 10, someone has to get 9. And if the score is tied at the end of each round, then the winner is whoever was more aggressive.
Right.
And I was clearly more aggressive. He won the first round, obviously, because he scored points.
Yep.
It was 10-9. And the second round, I thought that I was more aggressive. He got a negative for stalling. I thought that I was winning 10-9. So it was 1 round to 1 round.
Right.
And then the third round, he got another negative, and I was more aggressive. Thought it was 10-9. So that was 2 rounds to 1. They didn't score it like that. They scored it 10-9 for him the first round, and then 10-10 is 2 second rounds. So he won 1-0. 1 round, he won 1, and then the other rounds were draws.
Right.
So I thought that it was 2 rounds to 1, but it was actually 1 round to 2 draws.
2 draws.
So that was just a weird rule set. And the rounds, like with a 1 minute camp full guard, and then the 1 minute break in between rounds. So yeah, I would like a rule set rematch with him under whatever rule set, as long as we both understand the rule set. Like neither one of us knew who actually won when the match was over. I was just like, well, I guess we'll see. So we were both super confused. But my job is to submit people, and I didn't submit them, so I can't really complain about it.
Yeah. Yeah. How was your training when you were helping GSP for his title fight?
That was great. He would come to New York a lot, and then
You guys
every
went
now and
to
then we
Canada,
went to TriStar.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of obviously just grappling for us. We did specific training on how Bisping likes to hip heist.
Right.
So there's specific ways that Bisping gets up under good wrestlers, and he's good at getting up.
Yeah.
So we drilled those specific situations, and then we did just generic, jiu-jitsu training, and that was, he executed it perfectly. Bisping tried to get up the way that he did. George stepped in between his legs, put 1 hook in, and then Dremel came in. So literally everything John says is going to happen in a match or a fight happens. Gary was saying when he first started believing in John, it was after the Nick Diaz camp, because literally everything that John had George drill for that camp happened in the fight, to the point where Nick Diaz was accusing us of having a traitor, someone like a spy in his camp for the camp.
A lot of excuses that fight. Yeah, that's funny. Dude, did you bet on, if you had to, on George finishing by submission in that fight?
I thought he would have finished him. I don't know. I wouldn't say by submission, maybe with strikes or something else. But I would have said that he finished him. But he's gotten better. His first part of his camp was shaky because he was getting used to the striking again. He evolved in grappling for sure.
Yeah.
But he was rusty with the striking, and then he got colitis.
Yeah,
so it was like the worst camp that he ever had.
Yeah, it was a mess.
But towards the end of the camp, like the last week and a half or so, he was like back to the old George with the new grappling skills that he had. So I was confident that he was going to go in and get some kind of finish.
Yeah, Gary had him winning by submission. Was he training leg locks with you guys or no?
Not for the fight, but for just in the time that he was not fighting,
Yeah.
he was learning leg locks. Yeah.
Was he around helping Jake for his Polaris match against Craig?
He was there, but he wasn't there enough to be considered like a main training partner.
Okay.
Like he just drops in every now and then, and then we go up to train with him a few times. But the main things, I was like Jake's main training partner for Craig. I was like trying to do this stuff, and I'm so mad at Jake because I tried to invert underneath him for weeks like that.
Right.
Like just like Craig does, and I just could not get underneath him. Jake was nervous against Craig, and he fell to the hip. And when he fell to the hip, that's when Craig was able to come on top.
Right.
Jake usually just sprawls hips back square and then crushes you when you try to invert underneath him. And I was like getting crushed like a little bitch for like 2 weeks before that, and I just wasn't able to do anything. But when Craig inverted, he got nervous and he fell to his hip, and then that's when Craig was able to fully invert and then go into his attacks.
Yeah, quickly. Who's your favorite training partner?
Got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Nicky's always very good because he's so fucking small, but he's so good.
Yeah.
That it's like a good mix of being able to use my technical abilities and not really use too much strength.
Right.
Like you have to mix them together. Like, am I going to be a dick today and just try to squeeze him as hard as I can, or am I going to try to, play nice with him?
Yeah,
Jason Rao is very tough.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't really seen it too much in competition because he's still trying to get used to competing. But he's like my toughest training partner. Like, I'll spend the whole round trying to pass his guard and be able to do it.
He did well at Ikasai.
Yeah, he's like attacking my legs. He's very good. Kaza is always good. Kaza's always attacking. Good wrestling, always inverting into my legs and giving me problems.
Right.
Gary's very hard to finish. When I'm trying to work on my finish, Gary's one of the hardest people ever to submit.
Really?
Yeah, it's even if you get him into bad spots, you're all right, I think I got him, and he's free.
He's out.
So Gary's always the hardest guy to finish. And once Gary gets past my guard, he's one of the most dangerous people to deal with. When he's on submissions, it's hard to get him off.
I believe it. So tell me how you got into the sponsorships with Hypnotic.
So Hypnotic, initially I won ADCC, and then I wanted to start competing in gi, and I was looking for gi sponsors, and no one was able to give me the money that I wanted. And I was a few months after, and then I remember Tom the Blast actually posted. He's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you guys? I'm gonna start paying Gordon to compete in my geese. He just won ADCC. You don't think he's gonna win Worlds?
Right.
If no one wants to step up and sponsor him.
Right.
And then Hypnotic got in contact with Tom, and Tom introduced me to those guys. And they're actually he owns Hypnotic, but he also owns, I'm pretty sure, MMA Warehouse, or has some connection to MMA Warehouse.
Yeah, because they have all their stuff.
Yeah, so they're a bigger company that owns Hypnotic and MMA Warehouse. So,
right.
So they were a pretty small brand, which is good for me because they were able to invest most of their budget into sponsoring me.
Sponsor, right.
So I think it's mutually beneficial. I'm bringing up what's a relatively new brand, and they have a high level athlete now for them to sponsor. And initially they only sponsored me with the gi, but then Phalanx decided that they weren't able to afford me anymore, and then Hypnotic stepped up before. I was going to make a post about a no-gi sponsor, but Hypnotic stepped up and they said, "Hey, we'll sponsor you for both,
that's awesome.
and we'll pay you extra for that." So they've been great. They're one of my best sponsors ever.
I agree. I like their stuff.
Yeah, they have great stuff, great regular clothes. They got me on Jiu-Jitsu magazine, on the cover of Jiu-Jitsu magazine for the first couple of weeks. And we're gonna do a bunch of stuff with them. You're gonna be doing a Gordon Ryan signature line pretty soon with a bunch of clothes and gis and rash guards and stuff like that.
It's funny you said it because when they sent that release out, the coming soon, and they had it wound up being the Biggie Smalls gi, I thought it was for you.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna do something with them eventually. They sent me the mock-ups and they look awesome.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm excited to get that going.
Is Vans one of your new sponsors, or is that just
no? So those guys, they're called the Customizer Depot.
Yes.
I think on Instagram.
Yep.
And they just messaged me and they wanted to get me into a pair of custom Vans. They basically just take shoes like Nikes, whatever kind of shoes, and they put paintings on them. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, sure. So then they wound up giving me the Vans with the Louis Vuitton signs.
Yeah, they're dope. They're sick.
And then the crown and the King Gordon on the back.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, that's sick.
Yeah, they came out cool.
So, I'm gonna try to work with those guys if the opportunity presents itself because they've awesome stuff.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. All right, we'll finish. Message to the haters. What do you got?
Yeah, fuck you guys. I won ADCC. I'm gonna win Black Belt Worlds. And when I won ADCC, you guys didn't have anything to say because you said that he can't win a real tournament. All he wins is CBIs. Well, then I won ADCC, and now you're just saying that I can't win in the gi. well, I'm going to win in the gi, and then everyone's just going to say that I'm going to suck at MMA, but then I'm going to win in MMA too. And then you guys aren't having anything to say. Well, then you probably say, oh, well, if he went back to gi training, he would get crushed in a different sport now. So you guys are always going to have something to say, but regardless, I'm going to win everything.
Boom. Gordon Ryan. Awesome. Thank you,
so
sir.
much. Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
It was great. Great seminar too, man.
Thank you,
I'm
Dave.
glad I came. It was awesome.
Oh.